It all started back when they started implementing the smart meter. Not many people from Ontario even knew what the technology was going to be used for and thought no harm because in the minds of many, they trust their government's actions. The Ontario Energy Board is a corporation and is an agent of Her Majesty. Members of the board are appointed by the Lieutenant Governor General and Council. The Ontario Energy Board is one of the forces behind implementing the smart grid. On Wikipedia it states that the Ontario Energy Board regulates natural gas and electricity utilities in the province of Ontario. This includes setting rates and licensing all participants in the electricity sector, including IESO, generators, transmitters, distributors, wholesalers, and electricity retailers, as well as natural gas marketers who sell to low-volume customers. It also states that the board provides codes of conduct for gas marketers and electricity retailers, and the board oversees the electricity market. So it all started out in 1998 when Parliament enacted Ontario Energy Board Act, Section 1. The Ontario Energy Board in relation to electricity is to facilitate the implementation of a smart grid in Ontario and to promote the use and generation of electricity from renewable energy. Well, what exactly is a smart grid? According to the Electricity Act, it means the advanced information exchange systems and equipment, when utilized together, improve the flexibility, security, reliability, efficiency, and safety of the integrated power systems. The smart grid will combine the use of non-renewable energies and renewable energies. With a combination of smart technologies that communicate with the smart grid will be able to store and collect data of whatever is desired. We will examine this later. The benefits of a smart grid is that it can distribute current of electricity quicker to spots that had something go wrong in the electrical power grid. Special metering allows consumers to see how much electricity they are using during what hour to make better decisions on electrical consumption management. Mostly it's more beneficial for hydro companies because the smart grid can detect where problems are within the grid. All of this proposed and passed in legislation, unseen by the public and unimplemented for years. But on January 26, 2005, the board submitted its implementation plan on smart meters to former Minister of Energy, Donna Cansfield. It wrote in the notice, quote, "The Government of Ontario has established targets for installation of 800,000 smart electricity meters by December 31st, 2007. And installation of smart meters for all Ontario consumers by December 31st, 2010. The beginning of the implementation of the smart grid was the implementation of the smart meter. According to Ontario Regulation 393/07, made under the Electricity Act, Independent Electricity System Operator, which is also known as IESO, is designated as the smart metering entity, which means they are the corporation responsible for collecting smart meter information and data for the smart meter data management system. IESO is licensed by the Ontario Energy Board. Ontario Regulation 442 is the force that strive to install smart meters.
In future, we will live in intelligent houses that control our energy consumption easily, conveniently and intelligently without us really noticing. Air conditioning, heat pumps, freezers, refrigerators, washing machines and tumble dryers will all be controlled intelligently. The consumer could simply use an ordinary mobile phone or plug in an adapter to automatically start and stop the appliances, depending on the price of electricity. The price of electricity, in turn, depends on how windy it is. Appliances will feature the new technology when we buy them. In future, we will also use electricity for things that previously required a different power source. The petrol car will be replaced with an electric vehicle. The houses of the future are insulated and energy optimized for extremely low energy consumption. Zero energy or plus energy houses will be built and will be able to intelligently control the charging of the electric car our heat consumption, and the starting and stopping of the washing machine and other electric appliances. And the whole process will be as easy as using a modern smartphone.
Agenda 21 started at the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1992. It was a United Nations agreement that 178 countries, including Canada and the United States, signed on to.
Okay. Over time, it's now called sustainable development. How would the smart grid tie into sustainable development?
Okay, well, sustainable development was like at the forefront of Agenda 21. Agenda 21 is a plan to implement sustainable development at a local level. How the smart grid ties into that is all energy consumption. Sustainable development calls for intelligent use of our energy sources. So through the smart grid, the power companies are going to be able to send power to your home. But if you've got a wind turbine or a solar panel, it will be able to pull energy from that to give to others as well.
Okay. Now, you think sustainable development has everything to do with carbon taxes, correct?
Carbon taxes are a big part of it, cap and trade, etc., etc.
Now, in case if you are not informed about the truth on climate change, I'd like to quickly inform you that climate change is linked to the sun and has nothing to do with greenhouse gas emissions. There is much evidence to suggest that, especially when all of the planets are heating up simultaneously. In fact, one of Jupiter's moons, which is further away from the sun than the Earth, was made up of ice, literally melted into liquid while in orbit. Climate change is real, but the source of the heat is the sun. CO2 emission is all lies. It's all done to manipulate the population to accept a global, unlawful carbon tax, which will ultimately fund the United Nations takeover to establish a one-world government, which is Agenda 21, a bunch of goals global elites want to accomplish by the end of the 21st century. I speculate they will start building these windmill and solar generator farms all over the world and combine it with technology we use today so that carbon tax can exist, because one is clean energy and one is dirty. Realistically, solar panels and windmills cannot produce enough electricity to power our industrial complex. I theorize they are manipulating us to use their renewable energy that we have to pay for instead of us actually using and installing that technology for ourselves on our own properties. They want to make sure we don't become free from electricity bills. Windmills and solar panels do produce enough energy to power our homes without having to use hydroelectricity, so off the grid. Pattern Energy Group and Samsung C&T Corporation are both building these types of things all over the world right now. Samsung is building the biggest windmill farm in the world just outside of Hamilton, Ontario in Haldimand County that is over 500 acres large. Well, would you agree that the reason why these wind turbines and solar farms are being put up is to kind of have it gives a reason to have carbon taxes, because smart grid is actually combining energy from renewable energy and non-renewable energy, and by having that non-renewable energy existent, it kind of gives leeway to manipulate people to pay carbon taxes, because the non-renewable way of making energy is obviously they're stating, carbon.
Absolutely, the old ways of creating energy that create carbon dioxide are still the most cheapest form of energy that we have. When you get into solar and wind and everything like that, the new technologies, it's very expensive, so most people are still using the old technologies. If they begin to tax those people, it's going to force them into the less efficient energy sources. It's going to gain a lot of money for the people who are behind it, like Al Gore. And yeah, it's forcing a shift in the way that we receive energy. Well, let's look at this. Things like wind power have been around a lot longer than the last 10, 20 years. And they're just being brought out on a large scale now, because it took whoever you want to call them, the elites, the bankers, the globalists, whatever you want to call it, quite a while to figure out a scheme so that they still are in control. Now, if everybody had a wind turbine and solar panels on their own home, they were generating their own power off of the grid. That's taking control back for yourself out of their hands. So they needed to devise that way that they could still be in control of it. So now they're generating all of this energy still, just like they are now, and still charging everybody for it, and still in control of the whole operation, even more so under the smart grid. And they're still, in complete control rather than us empowering ourselves.
So would you be able to give us a rundown exactly what is Agenda 21? Like, what are the main things they want to accomplish?
The main pillars, there's about 40 different chapters in it. To break it down, what they want to do is control every aspect of all of our life.
Could you name some aspects? Like, I know energy is one.
Property, land rights. They want to remove the ability to own private property for the collective good. They want to have megacities with the rest of the areas around the megacities off limits. That's the eventual goal. And with the smart grid, it's total information control. They're going to be able to know what you buy, what you throw into the garbage, what you cook, how carbon friendly you are. And we see that already being implemented in the passive homes that are hitting Europe. These are homes that track your carbon usage every day. They're already bringing out the carbon credit schemes. In the Super Bowl, they were really advertising this. That you could offset your carbon footprint for your travel to the game or anything like that by buying a carbon credit. Now, what is a carbon credit doing to get rid of that carbon dioxide? Absolutely nothing. It does nothing but take your hard-earned money and put it into the pockets of the globalists. Well, think of it this way. Think of centralized power. When you have a group of any people who are in control of everything and they know all information about you, smart appliances, the smart meters, the smart grid, tracks everything you do in your home. You walk outside, the IntelliStreets program, the CCTV cameras, they're going to know every move you make. So say if you throw a recyclable item into the regular garbage, they'll have knowledge of that and they'll fine you. It's forcibly shifting humanity into the direction that they want while they're still in control. Agenda 21, it looks pretty on the outside. It looks nice. It looks great. Who doesn't want to protect our environment? But just like anything else, the truth is in the details. When you see the real agenda behind Agenda 21, it's nothing more than total information control, total land control, total food control, total water control, total control over everything. And stay tuned for the film that we're working on right now, the United Nations Rise of Agenda 21. It's going to give you everything you ever wanted to know about Agenda 21 and sustainable development, from the history, where it began, where it is right now, and where it will take us in the future.